Okay, so nothing good ever comes from showing people this kind of stuff, explaining to people this kind of stuff. Nothing good has ever come from it, and yet I still feel like I need to. I still have an urge to show people this kind of stuff, even though nothing good has ever come from it. The only stuff that has come from it has been negative. The only stuff that has come from ever showing anybody any of this is, at worst, or at best, they worry about me, and at worst, it scares them and they leave, and it impacts their health negatively. And yet I still have the urge to show this kind of stuff to people. And it's probably just in my nature. I don't want to feel alone, right? I don't want to feel alone in my discoveries. I want to share them. But nothing good has ever come from sharing them. And so I do find it interesting that I still have the constant desire to share it with people. Almost as if there's some sort of reason for that. Now, the reason why I put these videos out there, and I'm currently working on writing some sort of book. The reason why I'm making this stuff public instead of keeping it for myself, obviously I'm writing it mostly for myself. That's the original purpose, is to document this information for myself and for my progress, as it allows for easier progress so that I can come back to stuff. But also because if there's anybody out there who is able to relate in some way or provide me with more information somehow, or simply knows something about this, then I would like to get in contact with them. So, there's that. There's the hope that possibly there's somebody out there who's also from MTR and is in MFR, and they can provide me with some sort of information, or this will help them out in some way. So there's that. So number one reason why I do all of this is for myself. And part of that is why not make it public, right? Why not make it public? People might be able to get something from it. And number two is directly for other people, which is that if there's anybody out there who this can help, or who this will let know that I'm going through the same thing as they are, and then can get in contact and help me in some way, there's that. Those are the two main reasons, I think, why I do all this. Now, what are reasons why the desire to share this would be sort of not necessarily implanted, but influenced into me and encouraged? What would be the reasoning for that? I haven't really thought about it. I haven't really thought about what the reasoning might be. That they would want to encourage me to share this with people. I'm being pulled by MFR, right, in these ways where they harm me and they do these things to me. Perhaps there are also ways I'm being pulled by MTR in much subtler, slighter ways, and this could be one of them. Perhaps this desire to share with other people is actually a desire that comes from MTR wanting to help me. It knows that if I'm able to come across somebody, or it knows that it relieves dissonance, perhaps, and if I'm able to come across somebody, this feels too advanced. The consciousness, or whatever is behind these two realities, I think is very basic and very primitive. I mentioned it in the last talk, I think, or the talk before that. I don't think that a thought so elaborate would come to them. So I think it's something more basic, like it relieves dissonance. That's just a very basic that's just, it makes me feel better. It's as simple as that, really. If it makes me feel better, then do it. And for some reason, sharing it does. And I think that's just human nature, You don't want to be alone. And so MTR seems to encourage that. Or perhaps it really is just human nature and there's nothing else to it. I didn't make a whole lot of progress today. It's interesting, I noticed, my toes didn't feel bad today, and I knew from the very beginning of today that I wasn't going to be able to visit a sensitive area, and it made me realize that MFR seems to cool down when it knows for sure that I'm not going to be able to make progress that day. It knows it can sort of just relax and not do anything to me. It doesn't have to use any sort of strength, if you want to put it that way, to do anything. It can just be completely idle, and it knows that I won't visit any sort of sensitive area or make any sort of progress anyway, so it doesn't matter what it does. And the effects from the day before still linger on, but nothing gets worse. And I noticed that today I didn't make any progress, and nothing got worse. And so as I continue to make progress, it seems maybe MFR is going to continue to up the stakes, harm me more and more, and stalk me, make me more and more scared, and just keep increasing my anxiety and all of these issues that I have mentally. It just keeps encouraging them and pushing them to new boundaries that I didn't even think were possible before. And it's like you get up to a wall and you think you can't go any further, and then it pushes you through the fucking wall. And so that seems to be what's going on. And so, maybe taking some time to not progress and just relax is important, so that MFR, it's harder for it to get to me. I think that might be a good idea, but I don't want to take too long of a break. I don't want to stop making progress for too long. I want to continue to make progress as much as possible. And I have been. Tomorrow, I have plans to make some good progress. Write more about specifically what MFR seems to do to me. My book is, 12 pages in, I think 13 pages in. But the pages on online are different than the pages would actually be in a book. And if it was a book, it would be like 30 pages right now, because the pages online are really big. And I have the font small. But either way, I'm writing, and it's good, But this video is just meant to talk about why I share this. It's just the purpose of documentation and the purpose of the studies that I do. Everything is for myself. It's for my own progress. It makes me feel better. It alleviates that dissonance that I feel in my brain due to my existence that I know is wrong. So it makes me feel better. And number two, I'm making it public just in case there's somebody out there that could benefit or help me in some way. And then there's just the added, why not, right? If I'm making this for myself to document anyway, I might as well make it public just in case. It's not like MFR is going through, the internet. That's just not how it works. It's clearly more primitive than that. It's clearly more rooted in the mind. It's not really rooted in the reality itself as much, although it does appear in some cases, like with the cars that stalk me. It does appear like that, but it's simply, that's more primitive, much, much more primitive than getting on the internet and listening to what I say. That just, it can't exactly, it doesn't seem, I should just say it doesn't seem to be able to do that. What I post on here seems to not affect anything related to MFR, MTR. What I write doesn't seem to impact it or anything like that. it seems what I make in this kind of context has no impact. It's the more physical stuff, or it's not the more physical stuff. It's the more like there's just like multiple levels, and the one level that it really doesn't seem to interact with is the internet and this kind of creative medium. It doesn't interact with everything else. It does interact with the emotions, feelings, the mind, and then some of the physical real world. That is true, certainly more so than the internet world, but I don't think it really interacts with the internet world at all. Maybe indirectly it has influence on it, but I don't think it directly interacts with it. So that's about it for this, I guess. Those are the reasons why those are the purposes of documentation and study.